Hey there, everyone, and welcome to essentially an article reading. We are basically going to be going through the article that you see listed right above there. I don't have any, well, honestly, I am about the furthest from a experienced streamer or anything as you can get. And so therefore this is just a static background behind me and it's not going to change at all during this video. But basically I'm going to be, going over or basically reading this lovely article here, on my computer here in front of me and basically talking about it for a little bit. And so that's kind of what we're going to be doing here. Again, I apologize that I'm not going to have the full article up there, but for that matter, the copyright people or whatever probably wouldn't like that too much anyway. But I don't know all the rules about that. So anyway, hello there. My name is Michael. This stream is indeed going to be basically posted as a video on my channel. It's my channel is primarily just like daily vlogs. Essentially, I just rant for 10 minutes about whatever is going on in my life that day. And yeah, so, and this is going to be posted up there on my YouTube and all that. But for the most part here, just practicing or testing something new, and that is essentially reading and reacting to articles about things that I actually happen to know something about. So with that, and honestly, I don't understand what these creator send an invite things are. Anyway, let's see. So the article that we're looking at, and again, I'm looking at a complete copy of it here on my computer screen. Excuse me. A dozen problems, it says. Shoppers threaten to abandon carts over self-checkout changes as customers slam Walmart's 12-item rule. Now, there are going to be several things that I'm... There are several things. Now, to be full disclosure, I have read this article already. I know what it's going to be saying. And the thing about this, first, is that I want to start by talking about the way that these articles are typically set up. All right. So you'll see up here where it says shoppers threaten to abandon carts over. Long story short, the point that I'm going to be making here is that these articles, these headlines are, well, it's clickbait. And so, and they tend to be clickbaity against the retailer. All right. And so check here, just keep that in mind as we're reading through this, where you see Walmart's 12-item rule, okay? And specifically emphasizing right there, I'm trying to point to where it says Walmart's. Because once we find out what this rule actually is that they're talking about, it changes things just a pinch. And you'll see that here in a second. All right. And by the way, this website that I'm talking about here, the Daily Sun, or the US Daily Sun, is a treasure trove of articles like this one. And when I mean articles like this one, you'll see what I mean here in not too long. But basically, well, look into the amount of research that you'll determine probably went into this article once we're done, all right? So, here we go. And again, I'm not going to have the entire article up there for, among other reasons, I simply don't know how to do it. And so, but here we go. Furious shoppers have threatened to abandon their shopping carts. Oh my goodness. Over self-checkout changes. Holy mackerel, folks. I don't know what we're going to do. So, I'm just waiting with bated breath to hear the rest of this, aren't you? I hope so, because here we go, my friends. It comes as stores including Walmart and Costco listen carefully to this part here, guys. Could soon be forced to ban shoppers from buying over 15 items at self-checkout. Huh. So, this rule, and then the first statement, the first sentence is about something that could force Costco and Walmart. So, Sam's Club is part of Walmart. Costco is not. So, just based on that alone, I am thinking that whatever this is coming from an outside source. And my gut instinct is going to tell me that it's probably something government. And so we're looking at an article here where where the government is probably going to be telling them to be doing something, and yet you see how this is written, where strongly implying that it's the retailer. All right, here we go. One raging customer said her Walmart branch had limited all self-checkouts to customers buying fewer than 12 items. So, there's a big pendulum going, well, most things in life come from a pendulum, all right? The pendulum swings one way, the pendulum swings the other. And overall, the industry right now is swinging away from self-checkout. And that just seems to be a thing. They're being removed and various other things. But some companies are still, completely sticking with the concept. But others are indeed. And there are a variety of reasons for it. And among them, theft. Theft in retail is like the, I'd say the 4,000-pound elephant in the room or gorilla in the room or however that cliche goes. But probably shouldn't use that cliche because however many pounds I attribute to that elephant, it actually probably weighs more. Because retail theft, it's a thing. All right, so that being said, continuing on with our article. Oh, here we go. Here we go, friends. The reason for the rule suddenly revealed. Let's take a look. The ban is part of a proposed New York anti-theft law. Huh. And it's a clickable link. Maybe I'll click on that. That includes a series of self-checkout changes lawmakers say will make checkouts fairer. All right, several things to unpack here. So this article, turns out that we're talking about a law that they're debating in New York. And the article writer here describes this law as being a series of self-checkout changes that will make checkouts fairer. Now, and again, there are two different articles of theirs that they've linked to here. High tech. Oh, that's right. It's green screen. You can't even see it if I'm holding up my screen with the actual article on it. Like I said, I'm a rookie at this. Anyway, but so we're talking about a government thing. All right. Now, so keep that in mind. Government. Next sentence. One raging customer said her Walmart branch. Within Walmart, by the way, do they use the word branch to describe it? I'm thinking like location, but if they use the word branch, that's cool. But one raging customer said that her Walmart branch had limited all self-checkouts to customers buying fewer than 12 items. Now, once upon a time, I think most stores probably basically they put self-checkout in expecting it to be like a 12 items or less thing. I know that like the big box stores where I live, they installed self-checkout in like the late 90s, and there were actually signs above that said like self-checkout, another option, I think was the exact phrase that the sign said, 12 items or 10 items or less. All right. So originally it wasn't like designed like that. And then eventually came these big robots with like a whole huge areas and like spinning platforms and all sorts of cool tricks and conveyor belts and names like Super Scan and Mega Scan and Uber Scan and all that type of stuff and whatnot. And this is the pendulum that I'm talking about. The pendulum was swinging way towards self-checkout. Well, now it's starting to swing back. All right. At least that's kind of what they're indicating here. Now, raging customer. Okay. Now that's one of these words here that, or one of these phrases about this that really gets me going on this. Raging customer. Where do you think they're raging? Where do you think they're raging? Do you think that they are raging at the government? Do you think they're standing outside, like the state capitol building in New York, capital of Olympia, or not capital of Olympia, capital of New York. This is a New York State, is Albany, I think. And so, I could be wrong, but I think it's Albany, New York. And, are they standing outside Albany protesting this? No, of course not. That customer who's raging, I have a feeling is probably raging at whoever is actually working at the self-checkout station at that Walmart in this article. Obviously I'm not there and whatnot, but if I'm just going to go out on a limb, they're not raging at any government official over this rule that directly stems from in this case, a proposed government policy. Is Walmart preempting it? Yes. But is this a argument over government policy? Yes. And is some poor individual that did nothing besides clock in for their shift at a store taking the heat for whatever this raging customer is going to say? Also, almost certainly yes. And where did the article writers find this customer anyway? I am going to guess probably a tweet. It's normally like a tweet. All right, here we go. But she complains that it just means longer queues. Yeah. So what this is saying is that if they're not able to go to a self-checkout, you're going to end up waiting longer in line. Yeah. Yeah. Now, in my experience in stores, both as a store employee and as a customer, more often than not, self-checkout is going to be the quicker, the shorter line, the quicker checkout, and the better choice. And so if you have 13 or 14 items and, I'm from the government, I'm here to help, is sitting there at the checkout, or at the entrance to your self-checkout, and being like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, skip a few, you're at 14. You go over there. You're going to be waiting longer. I'm stunned. I'm stunned about this. All right. Here we go. Here comes our raging customer. So you're forced to go to a regular checkout line. Yeah. You have 14, they only allow 12. Yeah, you're going to go to a regular checkout line. There's only 2 open. Of course. And the lines wrap through the aisles. All right, so a couple of things to unpack here. A big box store, and there's only 2 lanes open? Color me shocked. And I don't just want to pick on Wally World here. Target does this. Safeway does this. Albertsons does this. All the other big companies that have locations in my area, they all do this. And, places that even have signs like, your neighborhood locally owned grocery store, they too do stuff like this. And I have a feeling that nationwide, it's not just my town that's like that either. So, again, as much fun as it would be to just beat up on Walmart and Target and all them just relentlessly, that's not being quite entirely fair. And so only having 2 lanes open, yeah, that's a thing. Again, I work at a company like this, and I think we hit 4 lanes at one point today for about 37 seconds. But again, it's Monday and it's a weekday. And so Wednesday, which is also a weekday, I got that part right. And it wasn't the busiest day, but that being said, in just having more lanes is, it'd be great if that's how the world worked. Honestly, yeah. All right, here we go. This line involves has that wonderful statement, lines wrap through the aisles. This is a popular exaggeration. Lines up the aisles is normally how the exaggeration goes. But honestly, this particular exaggeration tends to come more often from senior management than from customers. But let's just take this furious shopper at their word. Lines wrap through aisles. All right, so if you're in a grocery store, even not a huge grocery store, not one with like double aisles, but even one with single aisles, how far deep do you think that would be? 50, 60 feet, something like that, from front to back? So I'm picturing, Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland type of thing in here. So according to this, what are they saying? You get in there and then you go down aisle 7, past the bottled water and stuff like that. You finally wait until you get over to the next lane over, and then you start going up the soda aisle, one transaction at a time, and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and then you're going back up. And now you're on aisle 9, the cereal aisle, and you're just looking to the right and looking to the left as you're waiting for your buggy to get all the way back to the dairy case so you can get in the line to come back down aisle 10, so you can look at some of the canned soup and whatnot while you're still waiting for all the Really? Is this really how it is? Now, that being said, I was at a grocery store, actually in my parents' town not too long ago, and there was about halfway back on one aisle when I got into a line. Yes. However, how was this phrased? Wrap through the aisles? Wrap through the aisles. To wrap, that means you got to the end, and you're doing this action. If that is actually going on in a grocery store, in some place where it's not, communism or whatever, and they have their ration coupons or what have you, I want to see it. I really do. And I'm not talking an In-N-Out burger, all right? I'm talking like an actual grocery store in a grocery line that's not on Black Friday or anything weird. If that's actually going on, I want to see pictures of it. Because, well, quite frankly, it'd be some cool stuff to see. But it's also another way of saying, well, like I said, if that's going on, I want to see it. Okay, here we go. Another angry shopper said, I'm sick and effing tired of stores with 30 checkout lanes and one effing employee working. Oh, sweet summer child. All right, so, first, here again, going back to the point about, where are these shoppers? Where is this? Okay, the previous shopper supposedly wrote something somewhere. This customer supposedly said something. Where? I want a quotation. Which Walmart is this? All right. And because the thing is, and the reason why I want those type of receipts, I have a feeling this is like a tweet. Okay? This is like a tweet or an Instagram or some kind of social media post of some sort is what they're actually is what this entire silly article is about, a couple of people's tweets. You'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't, but the number of articles that are on this site, and again, for those of you, this is the U.S. Sun, the amount of times that these articles are based off like some random person's tweet. I mean, I'm a random person too, but the fact that like an entire official looking news article is designed on like off of like one or two people's tweets just strikes me as silly. And if I do more streams of this sort as I get better at this, that's going to be a recurring theme on these type of things. All right, here we go. So, that being said, now there's something I really want to go to here. All right, back to that wonderful quote that we just heard. I'm sick and effing tired. Also, again, tag back to so that the fact that we're talking about a reaction to a government rule. Do you think that this, well, do you hear any anti-government or anti-tax man or anti-regulation or anti-legislator or whatnot? Any of that in the statement? I'm sick and effing tired of stores with 30 checkout lanes and one effing employee working. Do you hear anything about the actual reasons for this in that statement at all? I don't. Huh. All right, so let's see. 30 checkout lanes. Now, I won't dispute that. That being said, I have not seen a full-size like big box store with more than like 15 lanes that didn't have a gazillion self-checkouts as well. I have a feeling that 30 number is an exaggeration. Maybe all around the store, but in the front checkout area, I kind of doubt it. Unless this is some place where they actually physically ripped out all the self-checkout machines. And, I mean, that includes, since we're talking about Walmart here. All right. Now, here's the main one, though. This is the one that really gets me. One effing employee working. Why, sir or madam, is that employee who came to work that day, why are they an effing employee in your book? I want to know. What makes a employee an effing employee? All right, I get this. I have to wonder because sometimes I hear from customers things like, you have no effing employees working here. So that means the ones that are working that day aren't effing employees, and the one that was working this particular day, at least in this article, is an effing employee. What makes an employee an effing employee? Do I want to be an effing employee? I've been called one a bunch of times. I've been called effing a bunch of different things by customers over the years. Maybe one could call me effing handsome. I kind of like that. But anyway, regardless. So, why do you... This particular thing is a real kind of passion point for me. So, only one person that works for Walmart has been mentioned in this article so far. And it's a checker, apparently, since they're talking about checkout area. And they get the word effing. And I have a feeling that the scheduling of checkouts is not that particular individual's fault. But remember that all of this comes, again, as a result of this government rule. Government rule, okay. Self-checkouts must be limited to 12. Where are all the overflow of people buying 13 items or more going to go? The main checkouts. Well, guess what? You have your up and down and up and down and up and down, supposedly, line. This is what you get. All right. assuming that this is actually the way that it happened and not a bunch of ridiculous exaggerations, which is what I think this actually was. All right, here we go. One shopper had an idea for a way to show the megastore discontent at the new policy. Are you ready for this, boys and girls? What do you think their protest is going to be? He said, get ready for this, leaving a full cart and walking out the store does apply pressure. No. 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 If you are upset over how much you're waiting, how much things cost, how long the lines are, how quick the lines are, and you want to send a message to the corporate office that you don't like this, stunningly, ditching your full cart is not going to solve your problem. Now, I do get it, that things do happen, and that occasionally you will be in a situation where, like, you have something that you need to get to, you know, your kid got it, it's an early release from school, and, you know, you've been legit in the line for too long. That being said, how long were you really in that line? Okay, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt if you had someplace you really needed to be, all right? However, if you're trying to make a statement, okay, I'm going to ditch my cart, and I live in New York, and our friends down in Bentonville, Arkansas that run Walmart, they're going to take note. And the next time I come into my store in whatever city in New York this was, they're going to have more chuckers because I ditched my cart tonight. Really? Really? Is that really what you think? Is that really the message that you're trying to send? Or how about this? I'm pissed off, so you guys can take this cart and shove it up your ass, and you're going to get stuck restocking it just because I'm pissed off. What do you think the guy's real motivation in that moment was? I'm personally leaning towards the second one. But who knows? Maybe this was a grand message being sent from all the way from New York to the folks down in Bentonville. And, you know, maybe this was like the greatest message being sent of all time. Or maybe it was just a couple of, like a 20-minute pain in the ass for a couple of associates that got stuck restocking all that crap. And not even that location store manager actually ended up hearing about that incident, much less anybody that's ever been to Bentonville. Which of those do you think is the more likely scenario? I mean, you know, I could be wrong, but that's just my guess. All right, here we go. Let's see. New York City Council members introduced the new law in an attempt to tackle retail theft. All right, a couple of things here. First, attempt to tackle retail theft. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And for the most part, my stance on on retail theft, whatever you're doing to try to stop it is not enough. Take whatever you're doing, triple it, then triple it again, then multiply that by about 15. That's what needs to happen. All right, that's just my personal opinion. All right. So, and again, there's clickable links, and I can go down the rabbit hole and click that link and find out what exactly New York is trying to do to curb retail theft. My sinking suspicion, the angle of the retail theft thing, like the entire thing that nobody wants to address, is actually confronting the people while they're doing it. All right? Everything is about trying to convince them that it'd be a better option to not do it. And I mean, this is from the politicians. This is from like the politicians and stuff. in a lot of areas. Let's try to tell them, that it's not, try to convince them that it's probably not a good idea, or try to, let's just look the other way because of reasons, or, or we try to understand, or we'll lock everything up to make it harder for them. But everybody on all levels of this seems to want to avoid is the actual confrontation with the people that are actually doing it at the moment that they're doing it. All right. And this looks like to be another one of those type of things. All right. And what I mean by that is tackling retail theft. All right. So one of the things you want to do about tackling retail theft is having fewer items at self-checkout. Okay. That's fair. Do people scam self-checkout? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. All right. And I can pull up a bunch of articles like this from this same site, actually, of people bragging about stealing from self-checkout. So does that happen? Yes, it does. All right. And so technically, would forcing people to go to regular cashiers lower theft, or lower what they call shrink, which is items leaving the store that have not been paid for? Probably a bit at least. But that being said, I personally think that this is more of a, like, grocery union backed, try to have fewer self-checkouts because self-checkout takes away employee, jobs and stuff to that effect. Basically, it's more of an anti-big corporation thing than a anti-theft thing. My state, for example, they have the opportunity to earmark a bunch of funds for an organized retail crime task force. No, we're not going to do that because budget stuff. All right. I personally don't believe that that retail theft is something that politicians really anywhere really give much of a darn about, if I'm being perfectly honest. All right. So as a result, I personally think that this thing about this self-checkout thing being anti-shop uplifting, I think that that's a good cover story I could help with that too. And that sounds better. So we're going to put that as like the top. That's honestly what I think is going on here. All right. The crime currently costs the industry a whopping $100 billion a year. Why is it, and here again, why is it that those numbers tend to come up in articles like this than in articles, like the fun ones that we all love where it's, where people are walking out the store with $998, added up on their calculator so that so that they're under the $1,000 or whatever, so the cops won't do anything. In those articles, in articles about that type of stuff, how much it costs the industry doesn't tend to pop up. It's weird. Now, granted, there are some that there are, but for some reason, that fact, they like to not mention those with, again, in the articles, even where the article is talking about the person actually doing it at the moment that they're doing it. That is the thing that nobody ever wants to discuss when it comes to retail crime. It's all like the discouraging them from doing it, making it harder for them to do it. Nobody actually ever seems to want to have the conversation about stopping them from actually physically doing it. Anyway, under the proposed law change, supermarkets and pharmacies across the Big Apple, that's New York, would be forced to roll out listen to this, would be forced to roll out a maximum 15 item limit on self-checkouts and increase staffing ratios on self-service kiosks. All right. Now, the self-service, the staffing ratio thing, that is something that we'll probably discuss in a different article on another day, because that's something I have a bunch of opinions on as well. Now, so this says, again, supermarkets and pharmacies across the Big Apple would be forced to roll out maximum 15 item limit on self-checkouts. Tons of questions here. All right, and I could do an entire hour probably on this topic alone. Okay, so first, how are they enforcing this? So, are we going to have, like, some employee, like, the first day that this goes live, maybe with a baton? This is a automotive flare. 15. How are they supposed to enforce this? Or somebody doing this? Hi, welcome. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Really? Really? Now, and I, of course, from the bottom of my heart, from 25 years of working with the public, I am confident that nobody is going to react to either a sentry outside the self-checkout or a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 person counting how many items that you have. I have a feeling, just an inkling, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just have an inkling that some members of the general public would react to that negatively. And so, on the day or the week that this goes live, could that even end up being like an employee safety type of thing? Remember masks during COVID? All right, for instance. Now, yeah, I know. Wait, you're advocating for confrontation when it's shoplifting, but you're complaining about this because there might be confrontation? Well, okay, you want to take that angle to it. Okay, we'll take that angle to it. So, okay, government, so that you should not shoplift is your guys' rule. That's like your guys' law, and you won't enforce that. So, this rule, you're going to enforce that? So, and so because there are, again, making this analogy between shoplifting and this, because, there are thousands of customers across the nation every day that see the law. The law says you should not shoplift. And their opinion is like, so what about if like Walmart or Target or Safeway or whoever it is sees this rule and is like, government, so you won't enforce your rules about, crime and theft being bad, so you going to enforce this, or we just not do this and we're cool because you guys don't enforce things? Anyway, let's see. Continuing on with our article here. Let's see. Okay, so the whole bit about the staffing ratios on the self-checkouts. All right, so think about this for a second. It stipulates that one staff member, this is the next line in the article, must be present for every 3 active self-checkout registers. So basically, if you're like in the Walmart or the Safeway and you have your little cluster and there's like the 6 little robots around you, and currently there's like one attendant for 6, 7, 8, whatever there are little robots in there. So now, with that rule, basically if that rule passes, or places where that rule does pass, because I am sure that these things are going to start getting passed in places. And once one place passes stuff like this, at least here on the West Coast where I live, Like, for example, if California were to pass something like this, Oregon and Washington would have it within like a year. Or if Hawaii passed something like this, Oregon, Washington, California would have it on within a year. California, if Alaska kind of does their own thing, but anyway, yeah. So once this starts sprouting, you'll be in your Walmart with their 8 self checkouts or whatever, and you now have to have 2 attendants in that area, which a couple of things about that. Okay, first, that there will be moments. Okay, so there are several unforeseen consequences that come from this, and I'll talk more about those, I'm sure, in videos that are actually specifically about this topic. But a couple of simple things about it. One, so retail kind of has this issue about people on the schedule not showing up for a variety of different reasons that is beyond the course of today, but chronically understaffed, and for tons of different reasons, people don't show up for work, and so there are times where corporate says self-checkout should be open. Customers say self-checkout should be open. The people that were supposed to ensure that self-checkout should be open all called out. So what this does, is this basically says that if you have somebody that shows up to work, you can only utilize that person to open up 3 self-checkout lanes. So if you only have the one person that's trained for it because the other people didn't show up that day, currently you'd have 6. Currently you would have 6 machines, and now you'll only have 3. Who ends up waiting longer? The shoppers do. Of course they do. And so, well, they could call somebody in. That, my friends, is one of the biggest myths in retail. And that's also another issue for another day. But if you're thinking that all the government has to do is pass something like this, and then some magic supply of additional backup checker help is going to materialize off the grassy knolls somewhere or be pulled out of the well and just appear here, my friends, that's not how it works. And this is not an airline. This is not a hospital. We don't have, a list of people waiting on call to come to work without getting paid for it in case somebody calls out. Almost any article or anything that comes up about retail and for that matter, probably almost any job that is public facing, the odds that if something is going wrong, or something is outside the standard of what you're expecting, chances are call outs or somebody not showing up is a huge part of it. The number of days and this is over a long career. The number of days that my department alone, which is checkout, in again literally decades of doing this, that we've operated off the full roster of staffing that even corporate allows us to have. 10%, maybe. Excuse me. 10%, maybe. So so basically what this would do, and honestly, I don't know how to improve that. That right there is actually the big number one problem facing, in my opinion, facing the retail industry: call outs. yes, there's a lot of different reasons. In my personal life, I have a lot of family issues going on right now, and have had for about a year. So I've had to, miss time. I get it. But this, this is, again, there's a unforeseen consequence here, and so basically, since staffing is almost always like a underlying issue, this is just going to make things worse. All right. Okay, so let's see. Retailers that don't obey the new rules would be slapped daily fines of at least $100. Jeez. Okay. So, questions about this. Is this per location? And who enforces this? Like, is there going to be like a self-checkout guru or something that comes around and like walks in the stores and is like, oh, I divided up the number of attendants and I into the number of robots and it's 3.2. You guys got to shut down your store. Or how about this? So the government inspector walks up. Hey, I'm from the government. I'm here to help. And the checkout manager's like, what's up? And I'm looking at your self-checkout. Well, yeah, there's no line over there. Well, yeah, but you guys shut 3 of those down because I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And don't you know, the law says that if you have 6 of those open, you got to have 2 attendants and you only have 1. So shut down 3 of those. So you want our customers to wait longer? Yeah, because I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Really? So that's going to be a thing. How is that going to work? And can I apply to be that guy? Probably has a government pension, probably Monday through Friday. Probably like, 10 to 1 for a full-time government pension if my understanding of how the government works is actually how it works. So I'm going to be that guy. Just like the guy that, did you know that paper bag or plastic bags, to be legal, which are still technically legal, in my state have to be a certain thickness, like there's a certain millimeter number, like there's actually a number that exists. So that means that somebody has to be an enforcer of that. So there's a dude that's like running around with a ruler and like, yes, sir, I'm from the government. I'm here to help. Where's your bag, sir? I don't know. So apparently that's a thing. But anyway, so yeah, I'm super excited to hear about that. Anyway, let's see. Democrat Councilwoman Amanda Farias, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, said the controversial item limit already in place at self-checkouts in other states. So, here we go, proving me right. Self-checkout limit in place at self-checkouts in other states. Here we go, like I said, this thing is spreading. Is to maintain safety, accountability, and fairness in the checkout process. Safety now. Let's talk safety the day that this goes live. And the day that there is, an employee. How about Mr. I'm from the government, I'm here to help, comes and stands like in front of the self-checkout area on the day this goes live, explaining to people that they no longer have this as an option. Let's have safety as a discussion that day when those customers are hearing about this for the first time. Remember I said that I have full confidence that every single customer that hears about this is going to respond positively? Maybe I was exaggerating a little bit. Maybe a few of them might not actually respond to this positively. So hopefully the government guy who's here to help can, since they're so concerned about safety, maybe this, congressperson can be there too on the first day of this, so they can have their safety discussion while telling customers that they have fewer options. That would be, to quote a radio show or podcast or whatever that I listen to sometimes, that would be really keyno. But anyway, let's see. Target has already begun experimenting with the policy. Ah! See how the author of the article is already back at blame the retailer? After testing a 10-item limit at self-checkout lanes around 200 stores in 2023 and then rolling it out nationwide in 2024. All right, so there we go from Target. So if Target is doing that, hey, that's their business. Honestly, if they want to do it that way, they can. Of course, they can. That being said, I do have a feeling that there were probably Target associates that were working there during that time that probably took some grief over it. And I am quite confident about that. And now in that case, well, Michael, doesn't that prove your point wrong? So you were just complaining that they're talking to Walmart, not the government, and you're saying this is the government's problem. Well, this is Walmart or Target's fault because they're doing it. A couple of things. One, they're preempting it. So they're basically only doing it because the government, supposedly, experimenting, because, again, it's going around about places. But more importantly, yeah, it's Target's fault. And whose issue or whose fault really is it? Is it Samantha that works at your Target? Or is it somebody in Minnesota? And unless your Target happens to be in Minneapolis, chances are that the Samantha standing in front of you is not the person that made that decision. All right, so that kind of actually brings us to the end of this delightful article. And again, what I'm going to be doing with this is taking these updates and basically, or taking these and putting this into a full-length video that I'm going to be posting on my channel. With just some random, my random retail section over there on my channel. All right, so anyway, thanks for listening in on some of this, and who knows, might do another article read sometime in the future. We shall see. I don't really have a whole lot of time for socials and stuff to that effect, but every so often it's just kind of fun to sit there and, just talk about stupid stuff. And, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, yeah, that's it. The article ends right there. There's no, conclusion or nice paragraph to wrap it all together, like the 5th paragraph or the 5-paragraph essay, that you wrote in school. They don't have any of that here. It just ends. Because, of course, super well-written articles. Nowhere in here, by the way, it doesn't even say, it mentions that it doesn't even tell you if it's a tweet or what it is, just somebody wrote something. There are no sources here at all. And that type of thing is the exact reason why I like to pick on these articles, because I started this off by saying, just admire the incredible amount of research that went into this article. Also known as, more than likely, somebody's tweet. But they don't even describe who the Twitter user is. Or maybe it was a Reddit post. Maybe it was some, post on an internet forum. Who knows? Maybe one of those responses was even a TikTok. I don't know. Anyway, but that's pretty much that for that article. I hope you had a good time with this. I certainly did, and we'll again be using this for posted in its entirety on my YouTube channel and whatnot here in a little bit. All right, hey, thanks for joining me all the way to the end here, guys, and we'll look forward to talking with you again, hopefully sometime soon. See you later, everyone. Have a good night.